I get the opportunity to talk to hundreds of contractors every year, and there's always some sort of a factor why they are stuck. Most of the times they're stuck because they're solving the wrong problem for the stage that they're actually in. There are pretty much 3 stages to building a contracting business, and what kills you at stage 1 is completely different from what kills you at stage 2. And both of those are completely different from what's holding back the guy at stage 3. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly what's happening at each level. 0 to $1 million, 1 to 3 million, and 3 million and above. And more importantly, what you actually need to do to break through each one. Stick around to the end because what I'm going to tell you about stage 3 is something almost no one in this industry talks about, and is the reason most contractors hit a ceiling they never get past. If this is the first time that you see me, I'm Edward Boca, the CEO of Contracting Empire. We work exclusively with high-ticket contractors, including deck builders, remodelers, painters, outdoor living specialists, roofers, pool and pond builders, and more. Last year alone, we've generated over $50 million in revenue for our select group of clients. But maybe more relevant to this video is that I've had thousands of consultation calls with contractors at every revenue level. And after enough of those calls, the patterns become impossible to ignore. I can pretty much hear someone describe their situation for 60 seconds and tell you almost exactly what's killing their growth. And this is not really because I'm some sort of a genius, but because the same traps show up at the same stages every single time. So let me show you what those traps look like and how to get out of them. Stage 1, 0 to $1 million, the identity trap. Let's start at the beginning. At this stage, the business is basically you. You are doing the estimates, you are doing the work, you're answering the phone, you're doing the invoicing, you're handling the complaint when something goes wrong. You are every department. You're wearing all the hats. Here's what nobody really warns you about when you leave a job to start your own thing. If you were making $100,000 a year as an employee, you need at least a $500,000 business with a 20% net margin to be where you were before. And most guys don't realize that until they're 2 years in, burning out and wondering why this isn't working the way that they thought it would. But here's what I actually think is going on at this stage. And this is the thing that nobody talks about directly enough. Because it's not really a marketing problem and it's not a leads problem. It's a self-worth problem. And I mean that literally. At stage 1, the contractor and the business are pretty much the same entity, right? There's no separation. So when a job goes sideways, it's not a data point, it's a personal failure. When a prospect pushes back on price, it's not a negotiation, it's a rejection. When a competitor shows up more, it doesn't really feel like a market signal, it feels like losing. That's the real reason pricing destroys people at this stage. Every time you write a quote, you're not writing a number, you're putting value on yourself. And if you don't believe you're worth what you're charging, you'll drop that number before the client even asks. You'll negotiate against yourself. You'll take jobs you should walk away from because saying no feels like failure. Literally one bad job hits, one job where the materials cost more than you estimated, one job where the client is a nightmare, one job where something goes wrong, and at a 10 or 12% margin, one bad job can wipe out the profit from 3 good ones. And that's not bad luck, that's the math of underpricing and overexposure. So here's the reframe you need at this stage. Your business is not a mirror, it's a vehicle. The fuck-ups are not verdicts, they are feedback. Every mistake is data. Every bad job teaches you something about your estimating, your contracts, your client selection, your process. The contractor who treats it like a science will get better fast. The contractor who takes it personally will stay stuck. And on pricing specifically, I want to leave you with this. The market will almost always pay more than you think it will. The ceiling isn't out there, it's in your head. I've watched contractors raise their prices 30, 40, 50% and win the same number of jobs, sometimes even more, because higher prices signal quality. You know, like think of Rolex. What is the perception that we have on these high luxury brands, right? It's not that the product is so much better than anything that's out there. The value is in our heads. And realistically, the client who's shopping on price alone is usually the client who gives you the most problems anyway. At the end, you are responsible for creating the comparison points in the homeowner's mind, so you are the undeniable choice, right? When you have that right, all pricing objections melt away. Now here's something interesting. Most of the guys I talk to who get through stage 1, who break past that $1 million mark, they almost immediately hit a completely different problem. One that's harder to see because on the surface, everything looks like it's going well. That is exactly where the next trap is hiding. So let's talk about stage 2, the $1 to $3 million comfort trap. I call the stage the comfort trap, but that's not actually quite right. Let me give you a little bit more of an accurate description. It's loss aversion wearing a comfort mask. And here's what I mean by that. The contractor at 2 million, 2.5 million, he's not sitting still because everything is great. He's sitting still because moving feels more risky than doing nothing. He spent 10 years building something that works. He's got referrals coming in. He's netting maybe $200,000-$300,000 a year, right? The business isn't perfect, but it's predictable enough. And investing $100,000 in marketing, which is what it would take to actually build an engine, it just feels like gambling with a thing that he's spent a decade creating. So he waits. He tells himself that he'll get around to marketing one day. He tells himself that he's too busy right now. He tells himself that he'll do it when things slow down. I want to be direct with you here because this is where I see the most damage done. Every month you wait is compounding against you. Not metaphorically, but literally. Cost per click on Google is going up every year as more contractors start advertising. SEO takes time to build. The guy who starts today gets the advantage 6 months from now, not today. Probably the most painful one is that your referral network is aging. The clients who referred you 10 years ago are getting older, or they're moving, or they're downsizing. That river doesn't flow forever. The contractor who invests in marketing at 1.5 million, who doesn't need it, gets a completely different return than the contractor who scrambles at 2.5 million when referrals start drying up. It's the same money, same channels, completely different outcomes. Because one guy is building from a position of strength, the other guy is trying to stop the bleeding. One is focused on growth, the other one is focused on loss aversion. And here's the thing about your competitors, right? They're not just laying on your backs and waiting. Right now, somebody in your market is buying up ad space. Somebody is building their Google and AI rankings. Somebody is showing up on the map everywhere your ideal client is searching. While you're comfortable, they're making themselves the obvious choice. By the time your phone starts slowing down and you realize kind of what's happening, they now have the rankings, they have the reviews, they have the brand, and you're starting from zero, just trying to play catch up. And you know, like there's a pride issue buried in the referral model, right? Like my work speaks for itself kind of thing. I hear that all the time. And I get it, you know, like you've built your reputation on quality, on relationships, on actually delivering. And that means something. But my work speaks for itself has a reach problem. Your work only speaks to the people who have seen it. And marketing is just amplification. It takes the story that you've already built and makes sure that the right people hear it. Admitting you need marketing doesn't mean that your work isn't good enough. It means that you're smart enough to stop being the best kept secret in your market. There's also a process issue that shows up at this stage that I want to address, because I hear a lot of contractors at this level talk about needing systems before they can grow. And I actually think that's costing you. And I'm gonna come back to that, but first let me finish the most important thing about this stage. The hidden cost of the comfort trap. When you're netting $300,000 a year, it feels good, man. But let me show you what that number is actually costing you. So let's say that if you invested $100,000 in marketing and it took you from 2 million to 4 million in 2 years, which is not really a crazy outcome as we've done it with multiple clients, your net at 4 million, even at the same margin, is roughly $600,000. That's an annual difference of $300,000. Over 5 years, you've left $1.5 million on the table. Not even counting the compounding, not counting the equity in the business you've built. The math of inaction is brutal when you actually run it. Now, let's get back to the process thing. Here's what I see. Contractors at this stage convince themselves that they can't scale until they have solid systems, standard operating procedures, the perfect playbook for everything. They are working on their CRMs, overthinking processes that your team will hate and nobody besides yourself will actually understand. And contractors use this process as an excuse not to move. Not really because they don't want to, but because it's a trap. That kind of thinking genuinely feels like work. Here's how systems actually get built. You do the thing 50 times. You record yourself doing it. You look at what worked and what didn't, and then you write it down. The playbook comes from the reps, not before them. You don't need the perfect system to take your next 10 sales calls. You need to take 10 sales calls and then build a system from what you have learned. Action creates data, and then data creates the system. That's the sequence. Once it's proven, you can teach it because it works in the real world. Let's make it practical. I'll give you an example. Let's say that you want to hire a lead handler. Well, grab your last 100 intake call transcripts, slap them into ChatGPT or Claude, and ask it to build you a document with the intake process. Takes you maybe an hour to clean it all up, and now you can train your lead handler. Real data, your flow, your language, exactly your process. See how easy that is? Need to teach someone something that may be required in the future? Record yourself. Record screen share videos. Record your trainings. You're already doing it all anyway, so why not document it? Just hit record. And then instead of you having to reteach every time, just send over the relevant recording. This is especially useful when you're hiring for first-time roles and you're in the process of figuring out who's the best fit. Spending an hour with each person who's on trial just to talk about company values can add up real quick. Moving on. You've broken through, you've built the marketing engine, you're at 3 million, revenue is real, business is real, and now you hit a ceiling that has absolutely nothing to do with marketing, nothing to do with the process. It has everything to do with people, and specifically with you. Which brings me to stage 3, $3 million plus, the people ceiling. At this stage, you are the bottleneck, full stop. Not the market, not the economy, not your competition, you. The business can only grow as fast as you can be in more places, make more decisions, and carry more of that load. And you're already maxed out, so it just doesn't grow. The shift that has to happen here is the hardest one in the whole progression because it's an identity shift. At stage 1, you had to separate your identity from the business. At stage 3, you have to separate your identity from being the best operator in the business. Think about what that means. You've spent 10, 15 years becoming excellent at what you do. You know the craft better than anyone on your team. You know how to run a job. You know how to close a sale. You know how to handle a difficult client. The competence is part of who you are. And now I'm telling you that the path forward requires you to become the worst person in the room at the things you used to be best at. On purpose, because you've surrounded yourself with people who are better than you at those things. And that is what a CEO actually is. The new job at this stage is building people, not doing the work, building the people who do the work, developing leaders inside the organization, not just workers, creating an environment where your team can execute and grow without you having to be the best answer to every question. And the place where almost everyone gets this wrong is hiring. Someone quits or gets a big job and you panic, right? You post on Indeed and take the first person who can fog a mirror and shows up on time. That's the equivalent of only turning on your ads when your phone stops ringing, right? You're hiring from desperation, and desperate hiring produces bad hires almost every time. The best hires come when you don't need them. You need to treat hiring like a sales pipeline. Always open, always talking to people, always building a bench. The same way you don't stop marketing when you're busy, you don't stop recruiting when you're fully staffed. Because you're always 3 months away from needing somebody, and the time to find that person is before you actually need them. This is when you have the time to evaluate, to be selective. You actually have the time to sell them on the vision of where your company is going. that's the other piece, right? At this stage, you have to be able to sell people on your mission, not just the paycheck, because the best people have options. They're not just looking for a job, they're looking for something worth building. If you can articulate where this company is going and why it matters and what role they play in that, you are going to be attracting a completely different caliber of person. And obviously, this is a huge leadership skill. And most contractors have never had to develop it because they grew by being excellent tradesmen, not by being compelling leaders. And that's okay, because as we learned before, it's just part of the process. All right, the last thing I want to hit on here is the marketing side of stage 3. At 2 million, you need maybe 1 or 2 channels that work. At 3 million and above, you need the marketing ecosystem, because one channel is one point of failure. Google algorithm changes, you're done. Ad costs spike, you're done. One competitor outspends you on a single channel, now you're exposed, right? The goal at this stage is to be everywhere your ideal client is. SEO, so you're found organically. Google Ads, so you're at the top when they search. Retargeting, so you hit up the people that have already interacted with your business already. You push content, right? So they see you as the authority before they even call. Social, so the brand is omnipresent in your market. You want every homeowner in your area to feel like they've seen your trucks, your name, and your work everywhere. Not because of luck, but because this is how you've engineered it. That's how you build an unkillable business. A business where no single change in the market can knock you out. Because you're diversified, you've built a real brand, and branding compounds. So let me bring this together, right? At stage 1, 0 to a million, the problem is internal. It's self-worth. It's the fusion of who you are with what your business does. And the fix is separation. Your business is a vehicle and fuck-ups are feedback. Price your work at what it's worth and let the market respond. At stage 2, 1 to 3 million, the problem is inaction disguised as comfort. And the fix is understanding that every month of delay is compounding in the wrong direction. Build the marketing engine before you need it. And build your systems and processes from reps, not before them. And at stage 3, where you're 3 million and above, the problem is that you've hit the ceiling of what you alone can do. The fix is becoming a builder of people instead of builder of projects. Hire like a sales pipeline. Lead with vision. Build a marketing ecosystem that doesn't depend on any one channel. And the thread through all 3, the thing that never changes is this. The biggest obstacle at every stage isn't the market. It's the version of yourself that got you to where you are. Because the skills that got you here aren't the skills that get you there. Every level requires a new identity. If you're watching this and you recognize yourself in one of these 3 stages, especially stage 2 or 3, and you want to talk about what it would actually look like to build the marketing engine for your business, go to contractingempire.com and watch the domination blueprint. We only work with contractors who are serious about growth, which is why we have an application process. But if you qualify, we'll get on a call, run the numbers for your market, and show you exactly what your opportunities look like. And if this video was useful, subscribe. I put out content like this regularly, no fluff, no theory, just what's actually working for contractors building real businesses. I'll see you in the next one.